state of stalling. I feel like something's missing. There's no way to fill the void I feel inside. All the lights here to guide me, blinding my eyes so I can't see. I can't turn around. This reality is haunting me. I'm hard to break. Through the noise and the flashing lights, I get lost in my mind. Anxiety never rests, so I hold my breath. Hanging by a broken thread, lights fading away.
You're not afraid. Inside I never believe that you're right. When you wake up feeling starry-eyed, and how the world returns the fever. It's out of our control. In the end we'll never know. You're taking minds unrivaled by the bitterness we speak. For listening, for listening. It's
échapper. Toutes ces pensées que j'esquive m'ont condamné. Le cœur dans une putain de tempête. Un jour de plus et la pression me perce la tête. Animé comme une marionnette, souffle coupé. Dans l'horizon tombe tout autour de moi. Et en attendant mon tour, suis-je dans le coma? Je n'écoute pas tous ces mensonges, non, je n'ai plus besoin d'y croire. Jugé par mon propre regard. Dans mon corps, dans ma vie, je suis celui qui convient. Si je suis mon instinct. Le cœur bloqué dans une putain de tempête. Walking dead comme un type sans tête. Déterminé pire qu'une bête qui fuit son maître. Il me faut disparaître, si des faux pas j'en fais.
I have no idea what they're saying, but that is great. Welcome in, guys. I am so glad you're here. If you are on YouTube, welcome in. If you're on Twitter, man, my Twitter has been blowing up, guys. I hope you are coming from Twitter. If you are, drop a like, share this stream, guys. We're going to talk about Biden's farewell speech. We're going to go in and talk about some of the drama that's been going on, a little bit from the hippy dippy. We're also going to talk about some of the DNC speakers. So it's going to be a great, great all-around stream. Yeah. So we're going to hang out, wait for some people to come in, say hi, things like that. But, man, what a speech. What a speech. Let me tell you. Watch that speech live. And, look, you can say what you want. You may not like Biden's policies. That's okay. You know, I don't expect everybody to love Biden's policies, okay? That's just the reality of it all. But you can also admit when something is just good, right? And I think that's what I saw last night, watching the DNC speech. I think he did a really good job. I think it was very powerful. There were some things that were said that probably were a little bit untrue, right? This is a Babylon Bee headline. Hey, look, listen, okay? But no, it was honestly, guess who? I think it was a really great speech. Despite some of the lies that may have been said, I think it's a great way to send off a 50-year-long career. Look, put politics aside, okay? Put the politics aside. That is one way to send off your career into retirement. The man dedicated 50 years, I think they said, of his life to public service. And that's something that, you know, it shouldn't be a partisan issue. Be like, oh, man, you know, he messed up this and that. No, I think it's commendable, right? He sacrificed a lot. He probably gained a bit, right? But he gave a lot. And as such, I think we ought to commend that. Oh, shut up, guess who? God. But yeah, it was a really good speech. I think there could have been some better parts in there. Like I said, I saw the one about the very fine people bit. But you know what? The man's got nothing to lose, right? He's dropping out. He's not going to be here. So quite frankly, the reason, like, what gets me is like when I see the MAGA crowd be really upset at this Biden speech. It's like, bro, he's gone. Now, granted, you might say that, okay, some of his policies may linger. That's valid, but they would have lingered regardless, right? I think that's kind of the way I look at it, is that the Democrat Party was going to go to the left anyways. And that's another thing, too, that I think is that I do like seeing how Kamala is really capitalizing on the pain and suffering of what is going on in middle Americans' lives, right? She's hitting on a lot of these economic policies and things of that nature. And we'll kind of get into this. We have a lot of tweets lined up to talk about. But overall, I don't think it's a false headline there, guess who? I actually think he gave a pretty decent speech. Overall, minus a few flubs, it was a great speech, and I think it's a great way to send off a 50-year-long career. I actually do not know what is going on with my chat box up in here. Let's see. One cam chat box. There we go. That's why. I was wondering where it was at. I was like, come on now. But anyways, looks like we got a bunch of people funneling on in here. So we can go ahead and start kind of getting into some of these topics that I want to discuss. I know I haven't streamed since like Friday, and there's been a lot of stuff that's been going on since Friday, okay? Let me tell you, drama galore over the hippy dippy. Ironically, over the topic, which is what I was saying as I was giving my my spiel on Friday. So let's jump in here. So first things first, I'm the realist. Now I'm playing. Let's talk about this one. Let's listen to this clip. If you talk to insiders in the Kamala Harris campaign, they're very worried about where they are. J.D. Vance responds to Harris leading the polls. So before we get into this, I want to kind of explain to people where we're at. Let me go ahead and pull up the 538 polling so that we can see real time where we are at. There's been quite a few polls that have been going around regarding swing states and things like that. But let's look at the national polls. Here we go. As you can see, Kamala Harris is ahead right now by 2.8 points. I think that she is going to see a sizable lead. You can see Trump pretty much stay stagnant. I mean, 43% is about where he stayed. I don't think I've seen him peak at 44 yet. Harris is climbing. Granted, it's not very much, and I understand some of Republicans' viewpoints on these polls in which they would say, look, this is accurate. Those who are honest would say this is accurate, but what it actually means is that Kamala Harris is leading the popular vote, if anything, whereas Trump isn't. And given a 2.8% point margin, it's tight. It's going to be a tight race all the way through. But what I'm really curious to see is the polls that start to come out from this DNC speech. I don't know if we have any that came out today. None today. All of them were from August 18th. So we're going to start seeing some of those start to trickle in soon, and then we'll get a better idea of how well this DNC is going to boost her polling numbers. But let's go into right here and listen to what J.D. Vance has to say about these polling numbers.
I mean, our Fox News polling does show the economy is the #1 issue and that people do give you all the edge on that. And yet, this is what we have out from some new polling out of the New York Times. They say Ms. Harris is now leading Mr. Trump among likely voters in Arizona 50-45 and is even edged ahead of Mr. Trump in North Carolina, a state Mr. Trump won 4 years ago, while narrowing his lead significantly in Georgia and Nevada. What is the administration doing, the campaign doing with that data as it comes in? I mean, these are critical states that you got to have a path to 270. Are there any pivots? Are there any, reconfiguring of what you're doing in the strategy? Because you talk about your message, but is it not landing?
Well, let me say two things about this, Shannon. First of all, the polls tend to radically overstate Democrats. We certainly saw that during the polling of summer of 2020 and summer of 2020.
And my response to this is, which poll and where? I understand the oversampling of Democrats. I get that narrative, but show me that. In most cases that I've seen, it's been actually Republicans that have been oversampled more than Democrats. So I need some evidence on this, J.D. Vance. I need some evidence.
2016, and of course, a lot of those polls were wrong when it came to Election Day.
They were wrong in terms of the Electoral College. They weren't necessarily wrong when it came to the popular vote, which is what we just discussed.
Second thing I'll say, Shannon, is what we have certainly seen is that Kamala Harris got a bit of a sugar high a couple of weeks ago. But what we've actually seen from our own internal data, Shannon, is that Kamala Harris has already leveled off. If you talk to insiders in the Kamala Harris campaign, they're very worried about where they are because the American people just don't buy the idea that Kamala Harris, who has been vice president for 3.5 years, is somehow going to tackle the inflation crisis in a way tomorrow that she hasn't for the past 13.
Yeah, so this idea that he's got like some kind of unique insider knowledge is quite frankly laughable, right? Who's going to feed you this information? I don't know where you're getting this information that she's starting to level off. Again, if you look at all the polling that I've seen, is that she's gaining ground on Trump or creating a bigger distance. So I just don't necessarily agree with J.D. Vance on this point. I think that he's really trying to keep up a good front, but I don't think it's really factual. When I was a political science undergrad, anyone who served 50 years in public service was a loser. They were called because the private sector newsroom. Look, I'm just saying this, guess who? I think that it is commendable that Biden served 50 years as a congressman, as a senator. I think he was, I don't know if he was a representative, but again, commendable. You could disagree with me, and that's perfectly okay. I just think that it's very awesome to see somebody dedicate 50 years of their life to serving their country in some regard or another. And we'll get into that a little bit, right, about the serving your country part. So we're going to dive into this one just a little bit. We're going to start dissecting some of this. This is a alleged former Democrat telling you why he's voting for Donald J. Trump in 2024. Let's look into this and see his reasoning for these things. Again, take what you can for, take what you want from this. I don't know if we can really for sure say whether or not he is or wasn't a Democrat or is, but we'll watch this and we'll pick this apart.
Why are you voting for Trump?
All right, young lady, I'll be happy to answer that for you as somebody that is a former Democrat. I'm a 2-time bone cancer survivor. I voted for Obama Biden in 2008 based on Obamacare. And then when Obamacare was implemented, I promptly lost my insurance. I could not keep my plan. I could not keep my doctor. That put me in a tailspin of losing insurance.
So for anybody who's unaware, this probably likely, if this is true, and I don't suspect there's any falsities here, what I would say is this probably has something to do with the preconditions, right? Which is basically if you had any kind of condition when enrolling, you wouldn't be able to qualify or something along those lines. Which I think they removed that snippet from Obamacare or wherever you want to call it, where you couldn't have. Gosh, what was it called? Was it What was it? Let's look this up because I can't remember the name of what those previous conditions were. Obamacare. There's a certain technical title for it. Pre-existing conditions. There we go. Couldn't think of the word. Yeah, so I have no reason to disbelieve. Thank you, Talon. Yes, pre-existing conditions. So I know that was in the Obamacare. Let's check and see. Let's fact check this real time. I want to see if this is still a thing with Obamacare. Pre-existing conditions, Obamacare. Let's see. Removed. Not super keen on all of the insurance in and outs. Looks like marketplacehealthcare.gov coverage for pre-existing. All marketplace plans must cover treatment for pre-existing medical conditions. No insurance plan can reject you, charge you more, or refuse to pay for essential health benefits for any condition you had before your coverage started. So there you go. That is no longer an issue. Okay. And here, I believe I can just simply copy and paste this. Here, I'll just share it with you guys. So you can see that I'm not lying. All marketplace plans must cover treatment for pre-existing medical conditions. So it may have been something in the past. It's no longer a thing now. All right, so let's get back into this video.
And then on top of that, I got penalized for not having insurance that I could no longer.
This was also removed. The idea that you were going to get fined for not having insurance, this got removed, I believe, fairly quickly. This was not something that lasted very long. But again, we'll get back to a story.
Afford. Now, that was pre-Donald Trump political career. That had nothing to do with Donald Trump. That had to do with the Democratic Party leaving me behind, even though I voted for them. Now, come along to 2016. Donald Trump campaigns on getting rid of the penalty for no insurance. And he did that.
Okay, so I want to fact check this, okay? Did Donald Trump get rid of penalty? Affordable care. Where is it? Obamacare penalty. Wasn't it the Supreme Court that ruled on this? Oh man, I don't remember this one. All right, I don't want to quibble over this one. Let's just continue.
Helped my family out and me specifically. Then he campaigned on tax cuts. He did that. I got a tax cut. My employer got a tax.
Yes, he did campaign on tax cuts, but this is when things start to get a little hazy, and there's no way to really prove one way or the other whether this is true.
Tax cut. My employer then gave all 200,000 plus employees raises because the tax burden on them was less.
This I have serious doubts about. I will admit that the Trump economy was strong. It was very strong. But when you look at things like this, it's hard to determine whether or not it was the tax cuts that they necessarily saved and thus were able to give out those raises. But I think he actually goes into this, his employer, if I'm not mistaken.
Now, ironically enough, that company
There
was
you go,
Costco.
Yeah, so Costco's been known to be doing this pretty well. I think they were actually notorious for this. So this one I think is actually true. Where is it? Costco tax break raises. I think that's what it was. So Costco, this is it right here. Costco says extra profit from tax cuts will be shared with employees. Oh, come on. See, guys, you can't have an ad blocker up to save your life. All right. Many retailers have announced plans to spend their tax cut windfalls on one-time employee bonuses or more enduring wage increases. As retail pay is boosted, Costco intends to keep compensation for its more than 239,000 workers ahead of the pack. Now, Costco's always been known, for anyone who isn't aware, Costco's always been known to treat their employees pretty well, and they have a pretty good business model. So again, this is checking out pretty good.
A very liberal company that backed Hillary Clinton in the election.
So let's see if that is true. See, guys, this is what you ought to do. When you're going through and you're listening to these things and these claims online, look, I hate to do this, but we want to fact check, right? So let's fact check this. Did Costco back Hillary Clinton? Let's see. Hillary Clinton to stop at Brookfield. Just as book tour to Costco. Let's see if it backed Trump. Who does Costco give political donations to? This is interesting. Let's see what they give donations to. Let's see. Okay, DNC Service Corps, Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, Save America. Look at this, though. This is exactly why we research these things. Republican National Committee. Oh, what was that? So they kind of give a little bit of most, right? They do give a lot to the DNC Service Corps, absolutely. But they also give a little bit to the Republicans. So it seems like they kind of try to... A lot more Democrat in here, though, right, than the Republican National Committee and the National Republican Senatorial Committee. Definitely more Democrat stuff. But and interesting enough, they gave to Senator Raphael Warnock. So that's pretty interesting. All right.
Not only did
you have to look at the CEO and executive team and where they donate. They have to donate to the GOP to get stores and rest day stuff. Probably, maybe. I would need to see that. I'm not saying it isn't true. I mean, we see this with Amazon, but I would need to see more of that, guys.
they give all employees raises, which mine was $3 an hour back in 2018. They raised the minimum wage from $12 an hour to $15 an hour because they specifically said the tax breaks.
The $12 to $15 an hour, I feel like, was just recently that they did that. Raises minimum wage to $15 an hour. I feel like this was really recent with COVID. Let me check here. Okay, so it was February 2021. So this had nothing to do with this. It doesn't look like this had anything to do. Come on. That's why I need to get rid of it. I have the ad blocker up for a reason. So yeah.
Donald Trump delivered on that. And there wasn't a single Democrat that voted for you and I to have more of our own money we earn. One of the people that cast a vote no was a senator from California named Kamala Harris. We did not get into any new conflicts. Our president set foot in North Korea. I don't know if you know how big that is. But the one thing I want to ask you is this. You look young, which means you're probably still on your mom and dad's insurance. So you've never had to face that dilemma as a parent or as an adult. Also, you probably don't own a home. And if you don't know...
So, a lot of assumptions. A lot of assumptions being made, but these are fair assumptions given the person's age in the initial beginning of the video.
The difference between a sub 3% mortgage rate versus a nearly 8% mortgage.
Okay, this mortgage rate thing is so annoyingly so frustrating. The reason it was like a sub 2% or 3% mortgage rate was because of COVID, okay? This is something that frustrates me to no end. It's like a lot of the policies he's listing off, the raising it from 12 to 15, the subprime mortgage, these are things that are fairly recent, and it blurs the line between whether it was really Trump that did these or whether it was a natural disaster. Ragnar Vikings, what's up, Mr. Geek? Welcome in, buddy.
Mortgage rate under Biden, then you simply don't understand why anybody could ever vote for Donald Trump. To me, since I know how all that works, my bigger question is, why on earth would anybody vote for Kamala?
A little bit of an appeal to authority. I know how that works. I'm the authority here. I understand it, right?
Harris. Because she's sitting here saying no tax on tips, but yet in 2023, her and Biden passed a bill, and she was the decisive.
Oh, not this one. Not this one. No. Please don't do this. 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 I know exactly what he's saying. It wasn't a bill. If he's about to say the IRS agents, that's one thing. We can get into that as well. But if he's about to bring up this whole chasing down tips, we'll get into that because this is false. False as all get out. You can only assume that young people don't own homes because, look, Wes, we'll get into that. All right, I think we'll get into that. Remind me if we don't. That shit was dumb. I think they told me in COVID, and you could not get off during COVID. And then they told me 2 years later, LOL, why not send something quarterly about being on it? Yeah. All right, let's continue this.
Vote to make this a bill where you had a new way of reporting.
It was a proposal. It was a proposal. Let's look it up. Look, guys, we're going to fact check this live. I knew this was where he was going to go. Proposal on tips. IRS. IRS introduces new service tip industry reporting program. The Treasury Department and Internal Revenue Service issued notice, which contains a proposed revenue procedure that would establish a service industry tip compliance agreement program. It's a voluntary tip reporting program between the IRS and employers in various service industry. The IRS is issuing the guidance in proposed form to provide an opportunity for public comment. The monitoring of employer compliance based on actual annual tip revenue and charge tip data from employers' point-of-sale system and allowance for adjustments in tipping practices from year to year. Basically, what this is saying is that, hey, look, here's a redefined way of being able to report these taxes on tips, which you're supposed to do already, by the way. Okay, so this is just false. This is just false.
Reporting taxes on tips, and they also were going to hire 87,000 new IRS agents to audit us.
Wrong. Okay, now, see, he started off smooth. You're like, all right, man, look, I can get with you, man. You started off with the emotional plea that you've had cancer. Hey, Matt, I get that. Like, cancer fucking sucks, okay? Now we're getting worse and worse and worse and worse as we continue this video. This is just not true. So the 87,000 IRS agents, if my memory serves me correctly, and we can look this up, they are agents of the IRS to investigate certain tax fraud claims. They were not your typical auditors, okay? And even then, the auditing portion of those revenue officers, or whatever you want to call them, okay, because there are different names for IRS agents, by the way, even then, it's only if your shit looks fucked that they go, okay, hey, let's move it on down to an auditor to review this manually. Okay, so as long as you're not doing anything shady, you probably ain't having one of these 87,000 IRS agents come in and knock at your door. So, again, a little bit of research can do this and prove it pretty quickly. And he might get into this. I don't know if he will. But that rumor about them arming the IRS, yes, that's because there is an investigation division of the IRS. There are actual law enforcement officers in the IRS. They are only there to investigate tax fraud. Okay? They are like a police officer in so many ways. I believe they are a law enforcement officer, actually. So, again, this is a huge misconception.
To make sure the government got more of our money. Now she's saying this. Just like she said she's going to protect women's reproductive rights, which got turned over under her and Biden.
Through the Supreme Court! Through the Supreme Court. Do you think Biden and Kamala had a hand in it? Didn't they fight? They literally had, I believe it was the U.S. Attorney General at the Supreme Court to argue why it shouldn't be overturned. This is where, like, you lose the plot, my guy. You lose the plot.
They could have codified it. They didn't.
Okay, now that's valid. That point is valid. They could have codified it, but could they have? I don't know if they had a full reign of both the House and the Senate. So let's make sure we're careful when we say they could have codified it. I believe you had a split Congress for both of those terms, the first half of this term and the second half.
That's why I'm voting for Donald Trump, because he has a history of doing what he says, versus Kamala Harris.
As he was convicted 34 counts of fraud. Like, he does what he says. Yeah, he sure does. Until he tells you what he's not doing, and then he gets in trouble.
Having a history of saying shit and not do anything about it. That's why I'm voting for Donald Trump, because of the history we have to look.
Exactly, Mr. Geek. Drain the swamp, build the wall. Okay, these are excellent points. The drain the swamp thing is something I mentioned before, right? Is that Donald Trump ran on draining the swamp. And I asked and I put on Twitter, I'm like, hey, does anybody know if the swamp was ever drained? We don't know. Why? Because he dropped the line.
Back on a good economy, good job growth. America was doing great before pre-COVID.
Oh, he said that. He said it. He said it out. He said it. He said the quiet part out loud, guys. America was great before pre-COVID. Gee, guys. I wonder why. Gee willikers. I wonder why. Could it have something to do with maybe a global pandemic? Oh, no, it couldn't be.
COVID. Now, COVID would have ruined any president.
Okay, exactly. Yeah,
I
great.
don't understand why anybody would vote for Kamala Harris.
So then everything you've said post-COVID with your sub-mortgage rates is complete. You making that statement just contradicted everything you just said about post-COVID issues.
Can you answer that one for me?
So, again, he did good. He started good. We started good, right? He was going on it. You know, he was revving it up. We're like, all right, you know, bone cancer survivor. I get it. You know, that's tragic. You know, that's crazy. But you lost me, man. You started going off, and we just kind of lost you a bit. And I think a lot of what he was saying was more recent than it was previously, right? Because a lot of what he said made it sound as if this was something that happened under Trump, but a lot of this happened post-Trump. But anyways, let's go on to the next one here, guys. This is another one. Trump got himself, for anybody who's unaware, Trump recently got himself into some hot water over claiming that those who won the Congressional Medal of Freedom, I believe is what it was, those who won the Congressional Medal of Freedom were better than those who got the Medal of Honor, or something along those lines, okay? We're going to watch Pete Buttigieg talk about this a little bit. Let's see here.
Really excites me, and I think the really important contrast is that the message of the convention here in Chicago is going to be about the American people. It sounds like a very simple thing. It could even sound like a cliche, but there's something very significant about this, because the Trump-Vance ticket views politics as being all about them. We're certainly proud of our candidate. We're excited about Kamala Harris. We're excited about Tim Walz. You're going to see them featured. You're going to see them highlighted. But part of what's so important about them is they get that it's not about them. And so what you're going to see, I think, is a convention that highlights how when we use the tools of policy and politics and government the right way, it makes us better off in our lives. It makes life more affordable. It makes our communities stronger. It secures our freedoms.
Bro, I don't know who's over there, like, breathing into this mic while Pete Buttigieg is speaking, but my goodness.
And I think that's what we're going to hear. And that really is one of the main contrasts, right? People who live and work for others, the way that our ticket, top of the ticket, does. And someone like Donald Trump, who cannot comprehend putting others first, as you saw in those remarks. You know, I was a naval officer, not to nitpick, but I want to be sure we're technically correct. I'm not a retired naval officer, but I did proudly serve in the Naval Reserve.
Here it goes.
I remember when I went to officer training in Newport, Rhode Island, outside every one of our rooms, they put a little biography of just one of the people from the Navy who won the Medal of Honor, and a little write-up of how they got that Medal of Honor. You'd feel about this big compared to these people. And maybe that's why those stories just break Donald Trump's brain. He literally cannot comprehend that kind of sacrifice.
Let me see if I can find that video for you guys here, because I thought I had it pulled up. Let me go ahead and show you the video that we're talking about with Trump. Let me get it pulled up real quick. He basically said that the Congressional Medal of Freedom. Let me see if I can find it. Trump Congressional Medal of Freedom. Let's see if I can find it here. Oh, I didn't see that JD Vance commented on this. All right, we'll have to get to that here in just a second. Let's see if I can look this up. Flub. Let me see if this is going to be it. There we go. I just need this little bit right here. All right. Let's watch this. This is what the context is for anybody who's wondering.
Miriam, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, that's the highest award you can get as a civilian. It's the equivalent of the Congressional Medal of Honor, but civilian version. It's actually much better because everyone gets the Congressional Medal of Honor. That's soldiers. They're either in very bad shape because they've been hit so many times by bullets, or they're dead. She gets it, and she's a healthy, beautiful woman.
Tonight, Senator Mark Kelly.
So, to provide a little bit more detail on this, I believe it's the next one. Trump and JD Vance try to recover from this, right? So here's the next one. Oh, that's AOC. We'll get to that one in a second. Where is it? I know I have it up here. Here we go. So Trump tries to recover from this, and then it kind of does dawn on me. When you listen to this and you hear what he did say, I have to give Trump a little bit of leeway here. I think I understand what he may have been trying to say, but boy, the optics look so bad. So bad. Listen to this.
Many veterans are upset about that, including here in Pennsylvania.
No, I didn't hear that. I only heard, when I say better, I would rather in a certain way get it, because people that get the Congressional Medal of Honor, which I've given to many, are often horribly wounded or dead. They're often dead. They get it posthumously. And when you get the Congressional Medal of Honor, I always consider that to be the ultimate, but it is a painful thing to get it. When you get the Presidential Medal of Freedom, it's usually for other things, like you've achieved great success in sports, or you've achieved great success someplace else. When you get the Medal of Honor, generally speaking, and I've met many of them, and I've seen the families.
First of all, okay, it's rich to me to see Republicans kind of go around in circles talking about Kamala going, and then you see this. He's kind of going in circle. He's circling, right? But you kind of get the gist, okay? He does that jibber jabber for like the next 10 seconds. But basically what he's trying to say, for anyone who's unaware of what he's, Trump does, is he likes to go off on tangents. What it is he's doing here, what's up, Tron? One thing he's doing here is that he's trying to say that the Congressional Medal of Freedom is better because you're alive instead of the Medal of Honor where you're presumably dead. So it's better in the sense of that you're alive. And again, terrible framing, terrible optics. It just looked so bad. So I'll give him a little bit of leeway. But again, it's also still funny, though, to hear this, because it's like, it's kind of like, what happens with Kamala when you kind of like, what are you talking about? All right. So here's another one. This is one that really drives me insane. So Republicans have started to go after Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez because of how she says Puerto Rico. Okay, however you do that, I couldn't do it. I can't roll my R's. Guys, most Hispanic people that I have met personally, doesn't matter how long they've been in America or United States for, doesn't matter how long they've spoken English, they still have a Hispanic accent, especially if they're around other Hispanic people. So this really drove me up a wall. Okay, this was, to me, it was like, this is silly.
Looking forward to at the convention this week.
I mean, I love meeting people from all different parts of the country, and to have everyone from Puerto Rico to Alabama all in one room, learning about each other, talking about each other, that's my favorite part about this.
And have
Yeah, and guys, this for me is really like frustrating because it's like, guys, what are we doing? Listen, I want to be on Republican side as much as possible. I want to be a conservative as much as possible. But these are the arguments we're levying. We're arguing about how she says Puerto Rico. I get it. I know what they're going for. Is they're saying, oh, well, she's pandering. She's doing this and that. Who the hell cares? Trump panders all the time. Give me a reason to care about this. I don't think anybody really cares about this other than me just now streaming and talking about it. Okay. Let's get into this little nugget, okay? I'm not going to sit here and read through the entire 300-page report. I did not do that. It is available for anyone who wants to read through it. But I'm not going to do it. But what I will tell you is I think it was very convenient timing by the House Judiciary Committee to release this impeachment report to the to the public on the day of the opening of the DNC. Convenient, right? From what I've understood is that this actually stops short of actually recommending impeaching Joe Biden. Guys, if this is what we're going to do every single election where a Democrat is in power, but it's Puerto Rico. Okay, well, look, my whole thing is with this is, are we going to do this for every single election? Guys, someone has to take the high road. Whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans, someone has to take the high road. This is absurd. I get it. If Joe Biden did something that was illegal or impeachable, great. It should hold, right? But why are we releasing this so late? Not a huge fan of this. Not a huge fan of it at all. And then there's narratives like this. We're going to win, and they're going to try and steal it, y'all. Why are we starting this narrative as if, yeah, they are, and we should have taken measures to prevent the steal. We should not be using Dominion voting machines. Like, why? This is so frustrating to me. It's like it's almost as if I'm watching 2020 unfold in front of my eyes again. It's the same old. It's the mail-in ballots. It's the Dominion voting machine. It's the Republican poll watchers. It's the stealing the election. It's the mysterious boost in numbers. Guys, this is insane. Fortunately, we have Joe Biden as president and not Donald Trump. So I don't predict we're going to see anything near the likes of J6, but I do think we're going to see a lot of narrative of stolen election again should Kamala win. This was a big oopsie. But I listened to a little bit more commentary on this. For anyone who's unaware, there were numerous typos in the Democratic National Convention's policy, or the Democrats' policies, mentioning President Biden's second term. People were saying, oh, look, they're just simply copying and pasting a lot of Kamala Harris's stuff. Here's the thing, okay? From what I've understood and read and heard, is that there is to get this policy out, which I have up here, this 2024 Democratic Party platform, they have to vote on this, okay? They're not allowed to just simply go in, edit, and change up these things, okay? In order to do that, they have to raise a vote. Remember, everybody likes democracy around here, right? You know, they claim Kamala Harris was brought in undemocratically. Cool. Well, guess what? This is the same process for this then. In order to edit this policy, what they would have to do is they'd have to go in, vote for it, and when they vote for it, people are going to raise concerns saying, well, I don't know if I want this, and they wouldn't have been able to get it out in time. So it sounds like, from what I've understood and what I've read, is that the Democrats said, hey, look, you know what? Yes, there's errors, but it's our party's platform. It's not going to change much, right? So, yes, there's going to be some typos in here that looks kind of silly, but that's because they would have to vote on it to completely change these things. Once you realize that, you're like, oh, okay, this makes sense. This isn't like some intern accidentally typing out the wrong thing. No, it's the fact that this is all done democratically for the Democrats, of all things. So, yeah. And this is the entire thing. And I did confirm some of these quotes are in here, but you can see just exactly what all of these are, what some of their policies are. There's a lot. Here's another one that really bothered me. Tonight, guys, if you're a Republican, you're a conservative, if you're MAGA, whatever you want to call yourself, this is not going to be necessarily the greatest stream where I'm going to be praising a lot of what's going on with the conservative movement. There's a lot of criticisms. Over the past day or two, I've seen a lot of really just, one, nasty things, and two, I've seen a lot of just lowball effort kind of mudslinging, to put it quite frankly. So, let's watch this. President Trump's RNC priorities: ending illegal immigration, fixing the economy, ending independence, ending wars, etc. Kamala's DNC priorities: getting microethnic identification on voters list. Guys, look right here. It's an ethnic council. I don't even really, quite frankly, want to play this because it's irrelevant. This is an ethnic council. And I just saw, I don't know if I have it up here, there was another, I guess you could say, round table for this convention, where it was, I think it was like LGBTQ issues or something like that. This isn't it, guys. Look, I get it. You're trying to list out all these things, but the way to look at this is to be like, okay, could you imagine if the RNC had a panel on ending illegal immigration, another panel for fixing the economy, another panel for energy independence, and another panel for ending wars? This is how nitpicky this is. There's several panels going on around here. We don't even know how high up this ethnic microethnic identification on voter list is, right? From all accounts, it doesn't seem like it may be a high priority for Democrats, but again, it doesn't seem like I've heard anything from Kamala about this being a priority, if at all, for her. So again, I just think this is a silly nitpicking that doesn't need to really happen, but I get it. Oh boy, let me tell you all about this one. It is politics. Being nice is not an option. I get it. Being nice, I'm not asking for people to be nice. To be clear, I have no problem with certain name calling. It's expected in politics, right? Name calling is just part of politics. The issue I have is when we focus every single day, every single mudsling, and it's nothing of substance. It's like throwing darts at the wall and you keep missing the dartboard. That's what I'm frustrated with. I'm frustrated that my Republican Party is not focusing on issues like the economy. Now, you could say, well, Trump talked about the economy. Great. What did he talk about? Did he talk about how Kamala had a worst economy ever? How Joe Biden had the worst economy ever? Great. Those are cool. But did he talk about what he was going to do? Oh, did he talk about the Second Amendment? How Kamala Harris wants to get rid of assault weapons and assault weapons? What are you going to do about that? That's the issues I have. It's not so much about the being nice. No, I don't give a crap about being nice or being ugly. Okay, Joe Biden said a lot of things that were extremely ugly up there about the very fine people talking point. But this one, again, we go like this one, guys. This is from the Trump War Room. U-Haul moving trucks are parked outside of the White House today, hours before Biden's farewell address to the DNC. Are they finally giving Biden the permanent boot? Guys, this is one fucking U-Haul. You think the man's got one? You think this guy's going to just start loading? I don't know if you guys have ever seen when like presidents start moving and stuff. It's not in a freaking U-Haul. It's usually in like a semi. Okay, and they start loading up all of the furniture and everything else like that. This U-Haul narrative is insane. It is insane. And spoiler alert, they did not give Biden the permanent boot. Okay, this is low tier effort. Okay, so this idea about debates. Let's talk about this debate. So we know that I think Trump is slated still to actually take place in about 2 or 3 debates. Or might be 1 at this point. I'm not sure. And I would love to see a J.D. Vance and Tim Walz debate. And I think one thing that kind of annoys me is that this debate game is a debate in itself, right? Everyone wants to have their own arena. They want to have it at CNN or Fox News. Ironically, though, you'll hear a lot from the Republicans that, oh, Fox News is totally left, guys, totally left. Then why does why does Trump and J.D. Vance want to have their debate at Fox News? Because it's more friendlier to them. Their terms are a little bit more friendlier. So don't spare me the narrative of it being a left-wing news station. Tim ran away from his last debate. Look, my prediction is we will have a debate between Tim Walz and J.D. Vance. The question is which place is it going to be hosted on? Right? Someone has to come to the middle. It looks like J.D. Vance is alleging that he gave home court advantage on CNN. I'm not sure just how true that is. Because, okay, maybe it was CNN, but what were those terms and what were the days and things like that? All right. I'm going to probably skip this one. I'm going to show this one, and I'm going to give a kind of a hot take, okay? I think that what we're going to see in the next several years is we're going to see Destiny Husband. Yo, Talon, that would be great. That'd be awesome. I want to say this. I think that in the next 10, 20 years, I think we're going to see AOC run for president. She has come a lot more moderate. I think that she is the next Nancy Pelosi. I think that she is going to be the voice of the Democrat Party, and we have to learn to accept that.
To help her win.
So listen to this.
Because we know that Donald Trump would sell this country for a...
She was fiery in this, okay? She was extremely fiery in this, and I have to commend her. She really did fire up. A lot of people criticize her, like, oh, why are they clapping? It's because she energized the base. When you're screaming and you're hollering, everybody's like, woo! You know, you've been in church, and someone's screaming, the pastor's like, and this, and you're like, amen, pastor, yeah. It's the same thing here.
Dollar if it meant lining his own pockets and greasing the palms of his Wall Street friends. And I, for one, am tired of hearing about how a two-bit union buster thinks of himself as more of a patriot than the woman who fights every single day to lift working people out from under the boots of greed, trampling on our way of life. The truth is, Don,
Oh, we'll get to Reverend Jackson. We'll get to Reverend Jackson, guys, because some people were like, what are you talking about, Doghouse? We'll get to that.
Cannot love this country if you only...
So that's all I wanted to show, is just a little bit of how she was very energetic, and she kind of riled up the Democratic base really well. I think she's got a great future in the Democrat Party. Let's see. Okay, so this is really, really crazy. So the crowd sizes are this thing now, which is super frustrating, super annoying. I think the crowd sizes are needing to be... The crowd size argument needs to stop. I think it's absolutely silly because, for one, if you look at a crowd size of, let's say Trump does a rally in rural Texas versus inner city Texas. Where do you think he's going to have a higher turnout? It's going to be rural Texas. Unless it's like, inner city. I don't even know of any inner cities that are Republican. But we'll watch this because I thought this was interesting. There was a lot of rumors going around. Oh, look at Kamala or the DNC and look at how unpacked it is. It was pretty packed last night. So here's how packed it was. Pretty full. Dallas, Fort Worth. Fort Worth might be packed. I don't believe it for Dallas. I believe Dallas is still pretty heavily blue. Let me check it though, because I am curious. Dallas 2020 election. I think it was pretty blue, or it might be 2022. Probably a better one to look at. Let's see. Hated all the DEI and DNC. The DNC, there was just way too many talking. Shut up. It's great. You're okay, Tron. Let's just look at the 2020 election results. Dallas, Texas, 2020. Probably Biden. I don't know about Fort Worth. I could be mistaken, but I believe that's Dallas and Fort Worth right there. But let me go over here. You can kind of see that right here. I believe that might be Dallas. But this is the only thing I hate about Texas is look at how all their counties are freaking squares. Yeah, so they're going to be they're still blue now. It does look like Fort Worth was light blue, so maybe that'll change in 2024. But yeah, so there's that. But anyways, crowd sizes were huge at the Democratic National Convention, and I think we need to acknowledge that and stop living in denial that Kamala Harris is popular. Whether you may say that she doesn't have a good policy, that's perfectly fine. She's popular. All right. This was just pretty interesting. I don't remember exactly why I saved this clip, but I did for some reason. But let's watch it.
It's been the honor of my lifetime to serve as your president. I love the job, but I love my country more. I love my country more, and we need to preserve our democracy. In 2024, we need you to vote. We need you to keep the Senate. We need you to win back the House of Representatives. And above all, we need you to beat Donald Trump.
Yeah, he was very energized. Like I said, there were some moments where Joe would kind of ramble off, and it wasn't perfect. But again, I'll reiterate for anyone who just walked in and who isn't aware of my stances on this, I want to say that I think that Joe Biden gave a very compassionate speech. I think it was a pretty good speech given the fact that this was his farewell speech. And for 50 years of service, it is commendable. You may disagree with his policy, and that's perfectly fine, but I think it is important that we sit there and recognize that he spent 50 years of his entire life serving this country in politics, or not in politics, in Congress. So that's important to remember. And for me, I put bullshit aside, policy aside, and I give him his flowers, so to speak, right? And aircraft sparking, and guess who? If you can't see past exactly what I'm talking about and saying that the passionate speaker is what made it good, then I don't know how to help you. To try to equate it to that. Okay? All right. So, I wanted to talk about this one from Dan Bongino. Axios wins with the most hilarious line of the day. These communist sympathizers are so embarrassingly bad at propaganda that they'll humiliate themselves publicly with laugh lines like this. I really want to talk about this. Okay? Price gouging is not the same as price controls where government sets price for goods. Dan is just wrong on this. Okay? Price gouging and price controls may sound similar on its face. They will sound similar, and in some ways they are similar, but very different in other ways. So, for example, right now we have several price gouging laws throughout the entire United States. Okay? Those are usually reserved for natural disasters, and usually when there are claims risen of those, it's usually done within a few days, right? Not done over the course of the next several years, okay? Now, price controls are usually government-mandated prices that are going to be usually set. It's a price ceiling, okay? So maybe you have a good of bread, and that bread is going to be set at no more than $2. That's not exactly the same thing, obviously, as price gouging, which price gouging is where you just excessively jump the price up. Now, to be clear, I'm not a fan of price controls. Okay, I think price controls are absurd and silly on its face. I think price gouging is perfectly fine given that there are a few days, okay, and given that there are extreme circumstances, right? Let's say $1, this bottle of water today is $1, but then a hurricane comes and all of a sudden now it is $10, okay? That's a good claim for price gouging. I'm perfectly fine with us going after that particular store and saying, hey, look, you're price gouging and taking advantage of people during a natural disaster. That I'm okay with. The price controls, though, are saying, hey, here's this bottle of water. You, for the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 20 years, cannot charge more than $2. And if you do, we're going to come after you. That's different. So there is a difference. And I think it's important for people to understand that. So for Dan to kind of do the whole communist skit, it's cute, but it's not exactly the same. Okay? So yeah, this is one that I kind of get a little frustrated with. This one was a great serve by Pete Buttigieg, and you'll notice just how quickly the host kind of pivots real quickly from this.
Back to you, Mr. Secretary. The people that are being killed in places all over the country, they look like me, they don't look like you. And they're upset with the Democratic Party not taking it seriously. You guys sent the cavalry
Not taking
in.
it seriously.
Hold on, let me finish. You guys sent the cavalry. You guys sent the cavalry in for you guys for your protection. But the people of Chicago don't see that on a day-to-day basis. What are you guys gonna do to stop the bloodshed in our community?
Well, first of all, I was mayor of a city that faced that kind of pain. The toughest part of the job was dealing with gun violence, and the most heartbreaking part of the job was comforting or
I just don't understand. I don't understand why they don't just do subsidies on products that we want to promote. So the thing is, Tron, is that we already subsidize our agricultural industry pretty heavily. We also have a lot of prices for commodities that are set on the market and not set by the farmer.
trying to comfort mothers who just wanted their child back. And the big question, I think, for politics, for policy, for media, is who is going to help them versus who is going to use them. The questions she's asking are the exact question any citizen should be asking, which is when you take office.
What do you mean?
Are you going to
Are you
keep your
saying that
promises?
mother is being used?
I'm saying that mother is asking the exact right question. And the question is, what are you going to actually do when you come into office? Now, we're getting
No,
a
just
lot
tell
of
me
people
what you guys are
speaking
gonna
up
do.
about-
Just tell me
Sure,
what you guys are.
I'll tell you exactly
what you've
we're going
done to stop the bloodshed.
Actually confront gun violence. 90% of Americans, more than 80% of Republicans, think we ought to at least be doing universal background checks. But Donald Trump says no.
Oh, I was muted. This is when the answers come in. Sparky, no, Danny Bo's not reached out yet. I'm sorry. I thought I unmuted it. Yep.
No. You talk about assault weapons, something that made a difference when that assault weapons ban contributed to the reduction in crime. I remember coming to Chicago as a kid. And by the way, even though some media only want to talk about the worst and most painful things that go on in our city, Chicago is a proud city. Chicago is an extraordinary city. But I do remember coming here when crime and murder was off the charts, and the work that went on to bring it down from those levels that we saw in the past, the work that's going on to save lives right now is something that deserves the backing.
There was
of the
over
president.
20 people shot last week. 5 people shot over the weekend.
Then why would we elect leaders who won't do anything about gun violence?
Well, it's the Democrats that run the city. Name the Republican that is in charge.
All right, but this is really important,
No,
right?
no, tell me.
I will tell
One
you.
Republican in charge of Chicago.
Well, hold on.
Name them.
Listen to me, because not only did we have those levels of crime under Democratic and Republican leaders,
Okay.
right? But people try to cherry pick this for partisan purposes. You want to play that game?
It's not
We
partisan.
can talk about
As I
how.
told you, Mr.
Let's
Mayor,
talk.
they look like
let's
me,
talk,
not you.
Yeah,
Here it goes, boys.
So
Here
is
it
the case
goes.
in Boston, where there was a much lower murder rate, and also a Democratic mayor. We could talk about how the murder rate in Mississippi is double what it is in Illinois. Now, I could go around saying that the murder rate in Mississippi is double what it is in Illinois because Mississippi has a Republican governor and Illinois has a Democratic governor. But you and I both know it.
He is spot on this. You can cherry pick data on murder rates and everything else, and this is the problem is when you get into like the whole Democrat governors or Democrat mayors have this kind of issue or that kind of issue. Cherry picking data is going to come back to bite you. I commend Pete for calling that out. Now I will say, as a conservative, I am not someone that particularly likes any of the measures that he put in place, but the great thing is Donald Trump seems to kind of waver a little bit back and forth between red flag laws. So Mr. Pro 2A president also tried to ban bump stocks. So there's that. Or MAGA actually dies if we can actually start debating how to make America better, not just fighting every conspiracy that Joe shows. Well, the problem is, Tron, is that it's also appearing. It's also appearing that Joe Rogan has upset the MAGA base. So because of that, he's kind of been exiled, which I have pretty much said the same thing. I've talked to people before, and I'm like, hey, look, I'm a conservative, and I've been exiled. I've been called a socialist. I've been called a leftist. I've been called a liberal. You name it, a rhino, I've been called it. And I don't have a home, okay, as a moderate conservative. I do not particularly like the Trump campaign. I've started to look into a little bit more of other options. Ron DeSantis does seem a little too close to the sun with the MAGA group. But I think, and I know a lot of my chat, and I know a few people in there, they're going to go a little nuts over this. I'm probably more of a Mitt Romney type. I kind of want that old school politics feel now, but again, I know that we're not going to see Mitt Romney run for president. But I want someone similar to that, who's not afraid to reach across the aisle and try to make changes and get what needs to be done, and not, make grandiose promises that they're not going to be able to do because they've got to split Congress, right? We already have price gouging counters and controls available to handle such pricing, adding all encompassing controls on already low profit margin industries to counter the inflation caused by the same administration. Yeah, so Heavy Fisted, that was something that really, really bothered me, is when I was watching a Prime Kai's panel last night, I was screaming. I was like, please let me in here, please. Because nobody is talking about all of these different issues that can lead to record profits. One of the things that I saw was Cal-Maine Foods. I looked into it. Guys, they acquired a company. That's why their profits went through the roof. Because they acquired a new company. So their profits went through the roof because they have a new segment to be able to get sales from. A lot of people don't know how businesses run or work. And so they are too complicated. They can't even read an income statement or any financial statement for that matter. So they don't know even really what profit is. They think it's cash in hand, which is the most common misconception. And it's not. And also you can even ask them, what kind of profit are we talking about? We're talking about gross profit. We're talking about net profit. We're talking about profit before taxes. And was it taxes? There's another one. It's EBITDA, I think. Earnings before income tax, depreciation, and amortization. So which ones are we talking about? And if you can ask them, hey, what's depreciation? They'll also kind of go a little crazy. So, yeah, I think when it comes to business, I was losing my mind. I was absolutely losing my mind when it came to this. So, what's the next video we got lined up? Okay, so this one was pretty rich, and I was like, look, you know what? It was kind of funny when the MAGA crowd did it, and look, they're getting a taste of their own medicine. This is pretty funny.
Donald Trump fell asleep at his own trial, and when he woke up, he made his own kind of history. The first person to run for president with 34 felony convictions. As vice president, Kamala sat in the Situation Room.
She's smiling because she knows it's hilarious. The fact that they're sitting there saying lock him up. And guys, I'm going to be honest with you, for all my conservative friends that are in chat, listen, I know that it could go either way, right? Some people would say that the conviction of the sentencing of Donald Trump could bring out some people and think that think it's a political persecution. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think that that's the winning issue. I don't. I think if they go through with the sentencing, I think we're going to see a dramatic hit to his polls because you're going to have a whole new kind of election at that point, right? Question is, will he be sentenced in jail? Will he be sentenced in house arrest, probation? What will it be? I do agree that I think this is going to be a very huge mark on the election, but the question is we've still got several more weeks to go before we get there. Actually, we're only a few weeks away. We also have the debates coming up in early September, and I tell people this all the time is when they're like, "Oh, well, the polls are the polls are crazy." I always tell people this. I'm like, look, what big events does Donald Trump have that are coming up that he's going to be able to really come away from? And the only ones that I can think of are, and I really don't think they're going to help him, but the ones that it could, as minuscule as it is, are going to be the debates and the sentencing. With those debates and those sentencing, he could absolutely come through in the polls. He could do really well. But it's, in my opinion, and just the way that I have seen this election go so far, and the way that, as people have said, well, Kamala's not popular. She's just, she's just not Trump. Well, precisely. So what makes you think that all of a sudden now these polls are going to change to Trump for political persecution? The question is the moderates. Well, who are the moderates? The moderates are the ones that are going to RFK. Why? Because they don't want to support Trump. They don't want to support Kamala. So they're like, hey, I'm just going to stay in the middle. So what I predict to see is that you might see a little bit of an increase with Kamala. I think you might see a slight increase with Trump, but I think it's going to be more on Kamala than it is Trump. And quite frankly, you might see more independents kind of bow out if RFK goes the way of Trump. Well, right now, there's only one debate, Sparky. I have not heard if there's any more that are going to be coming up, but that is true. Okay. Another one, I'm not going to share this because we're just going to keep going through here. I think if the judge doesn't take politics into the account, he would send him to jail. Well, that's the question. Is we're kind of getting really close to the sun on this, right? When we look at, for example, the Comey issue. When Comey came around and Comey made that announcement about pressing charges against Hillary Clinton, or not pursue, or what was it, opening an investigation or something like that, or I forgot what it was, but basically Comey coming out, a lot of people yelled that was election interference. One could argue that this sentencing could be a really big issue in the election, and to sentence Trump at this moment would end up being not election interference per se, but it could be. And I could see him pushing it back. But the problem is Judge Merchant hasn't really seemed to give a rat's ass about politics and saying, no, we're going through with it. So we'll see what happens. The biggest thing that keeps you out of jail is if you say you're really sorry what you did wrong, right? Just say, dogs, no one knows what will go on until voting day. That is what real political scientists say, not journalists. Okay. That is like such a vacuous statement. No one knows what will go on until voting day. Sure. Great. I'm not going to say, you want me to sit here and say like, yes, I know exactly what's going to happen on election day. No, it's all predictions. Of course no one knows what's going to happen until election day. What do you want me to do about it? You want me not to ever talk about polls? That's not going to happen. So it's such a vacuous statement. I don't even really want to entertain it. Okay, what do you want me to do about it? Out of the normal, sending an unrepentant criminal to jail is normal. Well, like I said, we'll see what happens. Just say this is my opinion and move on. Sure, I've never said anything different, and I've tried there's only been few instances when I'm able to prove it's fact and I'm able to say it. Any poll is an opinion, just on its face. But there are polls that are within a margin of error, meaning they could be wrong in this way or that way. And there are certain historical contexts we can take with polls to say whether or not it looks like it is in Kamala's favor or not. And on that note about polls and pseudoscience, we have a Fox News article about Harris's coverage versus Trump coverage, and Fox News is trying to say that Trump got 89% negative coverage, whereas Harris got 84% positive. Curious how they got that number. It looks like it was done by the Media Research Center from July 29th to August 17th. So I'm assuming it's done by a poll, ironically, as we're talking about polls. Sure, Heavy Fisted, and I've done that before. I've gone over their methodology, and that's why earlier when we were talking about J.D. Vance, who was saying it leans Democrat, there have been polls I have looked at where they oversample the crap out of Republicans. And in fact, you could look at Rasmussen, who actually went in favor of Kamala pretty heavy-handedly, and then conveniently the next day, they're like, oh, what do you know, Trump's up by like 1 point. It was really interesting to watch that. But anyways, yeah, so they're saying that Trump has like had 89% negative coverage. Again, I'm curious why that is, and maybe it is a fact. Maybe Trump just has had really shitty policies and hasn't really had a good stance since July 21st to August 17th. So, well, again, we could look into it. Let's actually do that. You know what? We're gonna do it. Media research. That was my dog going nuts. Media Research Center coverage poll. That should be it. Let's see. Maybe this is gonna give me what I want. Oh man, I'm trying to find it. Continue reading. Here we go. Let's see what this gives me. Okay. All right. I'm going to go over here and show you guys what we're on. So, this was done August 19th, 2024. First of all, I also want to know this Media Research Center and see if they have any biases. I don't have that little thing that pops up. Who they are. Campaigns might appreciate getting more airtime than their opponents, but it might be a poison gift. Looking for user network supply Joe Biden 66% positive coverage. Actually received mostly negative coverage during that year's campaign. Harrison was certainly the most left-wing nominee of a major party in U.S. history. In 2019, she was named as the most liberal of all U.S. senators. Well, in Aircraft Sparky, that's why when you look at like aggregate polling, that's something that I like to look at. I don't like looking at necessarily individual polls. I think individual polls are prone to some error and oversampling, and so aggregate polling kind of helps weigh out all those things. It's kind of like a nice little average. The network spent barely any time on controversies that might have marred Harris's extraordinary media honeymoon. See, in this terminology, media honeymoon, there's a lot that kind of sends me into question marks a little bit. In fact, Vance's Cat Lady's musings drew nearly twice as much network interest than all of Tim Walz's dubious claims about military service. I'm highly... Okay, hold on. I'm going to do this off stream because I want to see something. The way they are labeling this gives me some serious doubts about what they're going for here. Let's see. First of all, I like dark mode. I want to see who they exactly are. Okay. Where is... yeah. I'm not a huge fan of this. The mission of the Media Research Center is to document and combat the falsehoods and censorship of the news media, entertainment media, and big tech in order to defend. And it looks like they've also been doing some articles about Steven Crowder. Let's see. I want to see about Newsbusters. Exposure of national media bias, unfairness, inaccuracy, and occasional idiocy. Read from articles on the blog, touted the latest nugget from our buddies. Yeah, so that one about unfair coverage is a little bit like questionable in my opinion. Could be true. I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump is receiving negative media coverage, but I think that's of his own doing. Okay, so this is a good one. I want to talk about this one. Where is it here? It's called their biasy, Aircraft Sparky. That's something you ought to look into when it comes to polling. Just like Rasmussen. Rasmussen heavily leans Republican. Almost always. And you want to look into those biases to determine whether or not what kind of credibility you can give to that particular poll. It's not to dismiss it. It's just a level of credibility. So, look, Sparky, if you want to look it up, you can look it up yourself and go into it. I went through and I just looked at all the about section. You can go into the about section and do all that. I'm not here to debate the credentials of newsbusters.org. Okay, but you can look into it. You can see all of their positions. They tend to lean more heavily in the Republican favor. That's all I'm going to say. You can go into it and look at it yourself if you want. It's up to you. So, let's go into this one here. So, the claim was Andy Bashir wishes for a member of J.D. Vance's family to become pregnant due to blank. Let's listen to, well, I don't know if I'm able to listen to this on YouTube, but basically, long story short, he kind of says he's trying to defend abortion and say that this is why. Well, let me go over here. What happened was Andy Bashir was saying, look, J.D. Vance is trying to ban these particular procedures, even in the case of grape. And with grape, what I think Andy Bashir was doing is he was trying to draw out those emotions from Republicans. And he did that very successfully, might I add. And when you walk through and you listen to it, it just seems like he's trying to draw a contrast. He wasn't trying to say he was wishing any kind of harm on anybody. And here it is again over here where Ian Miles Chong was saying he refuses to apologize. He didn't refuse to apologize. That wasn't his intention, is what he's saying. So anyways, you can look through these. I believe they're on my timeline. I believe I had commented at some point. What's up, Lee? But anyways, it was a good checkmate because now everybody's talking about this particular case. Which is what I think he sought to do, and it kind of puts Republicans on their heels to kind of address this issue. Okay, so now we're here. All right. We went through all the news articles as quickly as we could. Dying of anxiety is what's up. Oh man, Lee, what you got going on? Anything exciting going on? So I want to hit on this, guys. So Friday we had the Hippy Dippy. Okay, the Hippy Dippy was really awesome. There was a lot of, let me go ahead. I want to pull up some things real quick. I got some time stamps saved. So Friday was the Hippy Dippy. There was a lot of drama between what was going on the debate and what the actual topic was. Okay, and Saturday, I had a conversation with Pisco in Twitter Spaces, and on that Twitter Space jumped in Destiny, then jumped in Sean, Actual Justice Warrior, and they debated pretty heavily as to whether or not Sean is Actual Justice Warrior, was being bad faith or lying, more specifically. Sean now has decided to put out a video defending these claims. I was mentioned in one of these claims. Little old me, the Little Doghouse Show, ended up here. Now, mind you, this all started from a freaking Twitter space. Okay, now I was on the Hippy Dippy space as a commentator, and I provided a little bit of comments on that. We do still have about a good 40 minutes. We can get through this. We'll try at least. But I want you guys to pay attention a little bit to what he's saying and how things are a little bit dishonest and how he's being conveyed. The big issue right now is what was the topic that was brought to Actual Justice Warrior. And one minute he says it was brought to him by Connor, which is valid and true. But then there are other moments where he says that he tried to seek clarification from Lauren, but he doesn't provide those receipts. It's interesting. So let's go ahead and yes, Aircraft Sparky. Connor admitted he miscommunicated, but that's beyond the issue. Connor did miscommunicate, but Sean sought clarification from Lauren. So now that reopens up the can of worms. All right, so let's go ahead and watch this. This is a little bit of that, and we'll kind of pick apart this react video to this.
Salutations, loyal viewers of this channel. My name is Sean, and today I will be unambiguously defending my own honor because post my appearance on the Hippy Dippy stream, debate, whatever you want to call it, a bunch of different lies have been spread about me, specifically that I was going out of my way to intentionally and deliberately lie about District Attorney Alvin Bragg, and enough is enough.
And I want to mention this too. Okay, the Alvin Bragg thing and all the actual factual, I love that. All the factual stuff regarding this debate, I'm not too concerned about. So he's going to provide some evidence towards Alvin Bragg and some of the things that Letitia James said, which I think are fairly compelling. What we're going to do is I'm going to try to get through this as quick as possible.
I have watched the tapes, I have gone over what was actually said, and I have found the quote that I was thinking of in my brain when I was talking about people targeting President Trump, and I will be presenting that to you, as well as many more things throughout the course of this video. On top of that, as a little bit of a bonus, I will show you that by Destiny's own standard, one of the chief operators, one of the chief smear merchants against me, he in fact deliberately lied to me, again by his own standards. Now, we're going to get into this, but before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel.
Okay.
But I do want to give credit to Connor, of all people, somebody who I haven't really gotten along with in the past, for refusing to buy into the idea that I deliberately lied about this.
He's willing to...
Okay, so first of all, there's your boy right there. So I want to give you a little bit of background, guys. Something about this, I was not prepared for this whole thing to blow up. When I first jumped into this Twitter space, it was just me and Pisco and a few listeners. It was probably like 300 people. By the time I ended up getting off of this panel, as you can see, there was Destiny. We had Sean in this at 1.2. It was intense.
Lie blatantly. Lie. You agree that he lied about what Alvin Bragg said, right? He lied about that.
Oh, shit. Okay. Well, thank you for letting me know, Guess Who. I appreciate it. Yeah, I forgot Destiny's in this. Shit. Okay. Well, on that note, that's a good point. I don't think it would be an issue, right? If I'm reviewing a video, Destiny's not live. Come here, girly girl. I don't think it'll be an issue. Here, I can fast forward it. What I'll do is fast forward it to the point where I was brought up. That's what I'll do. I'll just get over Destiny's point in here. And we can talk about that.
Loyal viewers of this channel, my name is
from that Trump was the one that
agreed to. But instead, I get all these different down question, and that's what I prepared for. There should be that something may damage an institution. It was an up or down question, and that's what I prepared for. There should be no argument against this because obviously this is what I was presented and what I agreed to. But instead, I get all these different ridiculous points, like from Pisco in his Twitter space, where he tries to make the case that it would have been interesting for me to bring up whether or not Kamala Harris would.
Okay, so first of all, this is the first thing. It was not Pisco that brought this up, it was me. Well, Pisco kind of brought it up, but I initiated that conversation.
Destroy democracy.
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to bring up was...
Hold on one second, I got my dog out. Okay. Alright, here we go. AI won't know if it's live or tape. Same AI will now also scan for copyright music and content. Crazy. That's crazy. Alright, well here you go.
Is, you know, we're talking about, I want to kind of go back a little bit. So the whole is democracy on the ballot. First of all, this became the topic of the debate instead of, sorry.
So this is the real interesting thing to me on this is I don't think Sean was in this space at all, by the way. And so he had to go back and actually like listen to the entire thing. So
the topic of the debate became the debate, right? One of the things I had an issue with is that you could assume pretty obviously from that Trump was the one that this was being discussed about. I think that's pretty obvious. But, you know, even if it weren't, you could even assume because of the rhetoric that has been going out there already about Kamala and being a communist and things like that, you could even assume in that end that it could go the way of Kamala. But obviously the more obvious one is Trump. And I think it was really interesting when we looked at how actual Justice Warrior was going about all this. You know, it was really interesting. He didn't understand the debate, but yet he kept, even when called out on it, continued to debate from the perspective as if the topic was, is democracy going to be ended?
And this is so true. So I want you guys to understand this. I stick by this. There are numerous instances where Sean would continue even after, and I want you guys to recognize this, okay? Let's go back here. There are some interesting things in here. So the argument is that, well, I thought it was about the end of democracy. Well, hold on. I got some timestamps for you. Okay? Where is it? 1713. Watch this. Listen to these verbatim words. Oh, Destiny's on here. Crap. Maybe I can play it without the visual. That might be good. I might be able to do it without the visual. And that should be fine. All right, here we go. Let's see if this works.
January 6th and decide to yourself, you know what? I'm okay with like giving him another chance to do something similar should he want to do that. How do you justify that?
I think the
Listen to
premise
this.
of the debate is not are we voting for Trump or not. I think the premise of the debate is democracy on the ballot, which puts the burden of proof to prove that democracy.
This was Cam Higbee. For anyone who's not aware of where we're at on this, this was Cam Higbee. And you can see Sean in the bottom right-hand corner. This is at 17 minutes and 13 seconds. And Sean, actual Justice Warrior, is shaking his head. Yes, he's still banned. Hold on one second. Sorry, the puppers wanted in. I believe he is still banned. So we cannot, I don't know the ins and outs, and I don't want my fresh channel to all of a sudden get banned on Twitch, although it wouldn't be the first time a conservative did. Yeah, no, so basically Cam Higbee was saying, look, he gave him multiple times. Sean was shaking his head in what seemed like an agreement. And there was another instance trying to look here. Okay, I can't find it again. But there was another instance where he mentioned it again. We can actually search in the transcript end of democracy. And it is mentioned 11 times. And then here it is at 45:37. I don't know which one this one is.
Side saying like you have to prove 100% that this election is going to be the end of democracy. If democracy is on the ballot, then Trump wins.
Oh, sorry, democracy on the ballot. That's what I'm looking up. Let's go up here. Oops. All right, go down, down, down. Look at this. 2 minutes and 2 seconds in. 2 minutes and 2 seconds in. Okay, 2 minutes and 2 seconds in. And nobody stopped and said, whoa, wait a minute. This was about the end of democracy. Is this the end of democracy? Listen to this.
We're going to go into the topic for today. The topic is democracy on the ballot in 2024? It's a big topic. From the left, you hear a lot that Donald Trump is anti-democracy,
Crickets.
authoritarian,
Crickets.
that he tried to overturn the results
Crickets.
of the election. And so many Democrats are fearful that if he wins, that he's going to end democracy as you know it. He's going to...
And this proceeded to go on until Lauren Southern jumped on and was like, hey, wait a minute. All right, I got to kind of give this. Okay? So, yeah. I'm going to keep it short, keep it simple, keep it sweet. I may go over this with Pisco. Unfortunately, I don't know all the rules about being a banned streamer, and so I don't want to air Destiny on stream. And so that kind of threw a wrench in the plans for tonight. I totally forgot about that. But that's okay. So there's multiple points in here where I think when you watch Sean's video, he mentions and refers back to constantly Connor's DMs. But he leaves out that little important detail that he consulted with Lauren Southern. He also mentions about the Hayes Compromise. Okay? The Hayes Compromise, the way he lays it out is as if he's laying out the Hayes Compromise first and then Destiny goes in. This is also not entirely true. Or sorry, he makes it sound as if Destiny... I'm sorry, I messed that up. Destiny, he makes it sound as if Destiny brought up the Hitler example. And then he brought up, in response, the Hayes Compromise. But that's not entirely true. Wait, they changed that? Hassan made Twitch change that rule? I don't know, Talon. I'll have to look into it and talk to some people who I know whether or not I'm able to react to certain videos with Destiny on it. Makes things difficult, especially considering the fact that the Hippy Dippy was on Twitch. So, yeah, if it's Tron, send it to me in DM, please. So, I'm trying to think, was there anything else that I had planned? Let's see. there's nothing else that I have on my head at the moment. Guys, here's what I want to say, man, is I'll give my wrap-up thoughts on this. Is, first of all, before we log off, guys, if you're on Twitter, please make sure you hit that like button or heart button, and then also repost this stream so that others can see this. Also, guys, if you are on YouTube, please hit that like, subscribe, notification bell, so that way you can get notified anytime that I go live. I do intend, and I want you guys to know as well, there are some exciting updates coming, very exciting updates. I am now on TikTok. If anybody wants to check that out, it's pretty great. I'll warn you, it's not a very MAGA-friendly space. Okay, have some fun with that, how you will. I am on TikTok now. I am also going to be putting out some short form content. You're going to be seeing, well, I say short form. It's going to be about probably 10 minutes long. I plan on getting a video camera here very, 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 very soon. And we're going to do something that's a little bit more kind of along the lines of what Pondering Politics is doing, where we're going to kind of be a little bit more narrative on the news sources and things like that. I still intend, by the way, to do a lot of streams. So we're going at it, guys. We're not stopping. We're not just going to sit here and kind of lollygag on Twitch a little bit, you know. We're not going to stop there. We're going to keep moving. There's a lot of momentum. I've seen a lot of interest in what it is that I have to say. I know that I've been a little bit chaotic today. I'm working on trying to get those things ironed out and be a little bit more refined in how I approach these streams. But we are going to be getting more and more and more and more professional as we go through this. The fake cowboy hat, listen, this isn't anything but fake, okay? This is a very real cowboy hat. Appreciate it, Talon. So this is a very real cowboy hat for anybody wondering. It's a straw hat. Got it from Cavender's. So anybody who wants to look at it. I've thought about wearing this on stream. I feel like it kind of brings a little bit of mystique and stuff, you know? No, so, okay, American Patriot. Look, not all of us are real cowboys, okay? I don't ride a horse. I've never ridden a horse, actually, to be fair with you. I'm going to wear this more often. I feel like it kind of provides a little bit of a vibe, you know? But anyways, yeah, guys, we're going to go at this full tilt. I do intend to do more short form content. I am on TikTok. I am on Twitter. I am on YouTube. I'm on everything except for Kick. Now, that's the next arena to get into is Kick. Hopefully, when we get enough viewers and followers on TikTok, we'll be able to go live on TikTok, which would be really interesting. So anyways, guys, I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for tuning in. I know that it's not a lot of us in here right now, but we're going to get there. Whether it's here, whether it's YouTube, whether it's TikTok, whatever it may be. If you're on Twitch, please make sure you hit that follow button. We are going to provide more content. I'm working on it. I have a few panels lined up soon that I think I'm going to try to jump on. So keep an eye out for that. But other than that, guys, keep frosty. Horse hoof cleaning videos, yeah. Stay frosty. Have fun. And remember, it's just politics, guys. Let's not get over our heads. Let's not lose our human touch. And let's keep our head on straight, all right? All right, guys. Well, this is your boy, The Doghouse. I'm going to sign off. I'm going to get some dinner. Last thing. Please make sure you tune in Saturday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We will be live again. We will be discussing some new updates on different stories and things of that nature. And anyways, guys.